The moment she asked the question, Ethan felt something inside him tilt, like a shelf coming loose in the dark. His life had always been quiet and planned. Wake up early, drink coffee by the window, take the train to his logistics job downtown, come home to Claire, talk about the wedding, 3 months away, everything in order. That's how he liked it. That's how he thought life worked. Marcus had been part of that order for years. College nights, bad breakups, hospital rooms. He was family, not just a best man. Ethan never questioned that. They were sitting on the couch, Claire's laptop balanced between them. Seating charts, venue photos, engagement pictures she kept zooming in and out of. Claire's voice was calm when she spoke, almost bored. Do you think Marcus really has to be best man? Ethan laughed without thinking. Nice try. She didn't smile. She kept scrolling. I just mean, she said, Ryan photographs better. He fits the look. The wedding should feel clean. Ethan waited for the joke to land. It didn't. The room felt smaller. The laptop fan hummed. Outside, traffic moved like normal. Claire finally looked at him, serious, measuring. That was when Ethan understood. This wasn't about a wedding photo. It was a question about who mattered. Ethan's days followed the same pattern, and he trusted that. He woke before the alarm, made coffee the same way every morning, and watched the city wake up through the kitchen window. The train ride downtown was quiet. Work calls filled his headphones. Numbers, schedules, deliveries. Things that made sense. Evenings were for Claire. They cooked simple meals and ate at the table, talking about the wedding or nothing at all. On weekends, they met friends for dinner. Claire smiled easily, but her eyes often dropped to her phone. She scrolled while others talked, nodding without listening. Marcus had been there long, before all of this. Since college, since a funeral where Ethan couldn't speak. Since the year everything went wrong and nothing worked out. Marcus never asked for credit. He just stayed. Claire said she liked that about him. But she corrected Ethan in front of others. Small things. His words. His jokes. She spoke about how things looked, how people judged, how first impressions lasted forever. Image mattered. Status mattered. Ethan noticed, then chose not to. He told himself every couple had small issues. That quiet meant peace. That routine meant strength. He believed that if life stayed stable, nothing could break. The call lasted 7 minutes. That was all it took. A calm voice explained the restructuring, thanked Ethan for his time, and wished him luck. By noon, his desk was empty. His badge no longer worked. No one made a scene. He took the train home like always, holding a box that felt too light. Claire hugged him when he told her. She said, I'm sorry, the way people say it when they're already thinking ahead. By dinner, her questions changed. How long would this last? What about the deposits? The venue? Her tone stayed soft, but something sharp lived under it. Days passed. Ethan sent resumes, made calls, watched his savings shrink. The wedding cost did not slow down. Claire insisted nothing could change now. She spoke less. When she did, her answers were short. Silence filled the apartment like fog. Marcus called every day, offered money, connections, a couch if needed. Claire waved it off, said they didn't need charity, said Marcus worried too much. Ryan's name slipped into conversations. A co-worker, a mutual friend, a story from the past. Always casual, always harmless. Ethan felt himself cracking, but quietly, like something breaking where no one could see. Envelopes began to pile up on the kitchen counter. Ethan opened them slowly, one by one, then stacked them again like they might disappear. He sold his old watch, then his second monitor. Small things that once felt permanent. The money helped, but only for a moment. The wedding plans grew larger. New decorations, better flowers, a bigger guest list. Claire spoke about perfection like it was a rule, not a wish. When Ethan mentioned cutting back, she looked at him like he had said something wrong. Her schedule changed. Late nights that came with simple explanations. Gym trips that started after 10. She kept her phone face down, fingers quick when messages appeared. If Ethan asked, she answered smoothly, the same words each time. Their talks felt practiced, like lines that end scene. No arguments. No shouting. Just distance. When they lay in bed, Claire turned away. The space between them felt wider than the room. The apartment lost its warmth. The air stayed still. Dishes sat longer in the sink. Lights stayed off. Even sounds felt softer, like the place was holding its breath. Ethan stared at the ceiling most nights, listening to her breathe, wondering when someone so close had become so far away. Ethan's keys clicked in the lock, soft against the quiet hallway. He had finished early at the warehouse and thought he might surprise Claire with dinner. The apartment was dark, except for the small lamp in the bedroom, casting long shadows across the floor. Her phone buzzed on the counter. A single vibration. Ethan froze. He didn't want to look, didn't want to know. But curiosity and something heavier pulled him closer. Messages. Ryan. Hotel names. Times. Photos he was never meant to see. The evidence wasn't loud. It wasn't violent. It just existed, quiet and undeniable, like a shadow spreading across the room. He sank to the kitchen floor, knees pulled close, staring at the patterns of light on the tile. Claire's breathing came steady from the bedroom. Unaware, safe in her own world. Ethan's chest tightened. Words could not capture it, and he did not try. Nothing moved except the clock. Minutes ticked. The apartment felt too large and too small at the same time. By the time he finally pushed himself to stand, the betrayal had already lived inside him. He didn't need proof. He didn't need confrontation. It was complete. And still, Claire slept. Claire didn't yell. She didn't cry. She simply told their friends and family that Ethan was struggling, that he couldn't handle the wedding, that he was unstable and falling behind. No one questioned her. Her calm voice carried the story, and people believed it. The wedding disappeared quietly from their calendars. Then, months later, it returned as something new, bigger, brighter, perfect. Claire and Ryan, smiling in pictures Ethan never saw, announced it online. The venue was elegant, the guests carefully chosen, all faces unfamiliar to him. A thin envelope arrived at his door one morning. Inside was an invitation. His name was written wrong. He recognized no one on the guest list. Marcus's name was nowhere. The people who mattered, the friends who had stayed through everything, were absent. Ethan held the paper in his hands, feeling the weight of erasure. He had been part of the story once, and now, in the world's eyes, he had disappeared. No arguments, no fights, just absence. The life he had built, the plans he had made, erased quietly, publicly, and completely. Claire had rewritten the story, and he was no longer a character. Ethan's new apartment was small, almost empty. One chair, one lamp, bare walls that echoed every sound. He spent more time staring at the ceiling than at anything else. Nights were long and quiet. He worked unloading trucks, lifting pallets, stacking boxes. The work was honest, physical, and exhausting, but it left him nothing to think about except the next shift. He didn't play music. He didn't turn on a TV. Silence filled every corner. It pressed against him, heavy and unrelenting. Mirrors were avoided. Every reflection reminded him of what he had lost. The wedding invitation sat on the table, unopened. He didn't throw it away. He didn't touch it. It waited, a quiet accusation. Time passed in slow, gray waves. Days and nights blurred. Bills were paid. Food was eaten. Showers were taken. Pain became routine, familiar, expected. He questioned every choice, every decision that had led him here. Friends who had mattered, love that had promised permanence. It all felt distant. Nothing hurt sharply anymore. It was a dull ache, constant and patient. And still he survived, not thriving, not moving forward, just surviving, waiting, and learning how quiet the world could be when it had nothing left to give. 18 night, after the trucks were unloaded and the apartment was silent, Ethan opened his old laptop. The screen glowed against the bare walls. He taught himself logistics software, supply chain models, and formulas that made numbers move and dance on the screen. No speeches, no pep talks, just hours and hours of work. Steady and quiet, he built systems that didn't exist before, tracking inefficiencies, testing solutions, redesigning processes. Failures came often, but he studied each one, turning mistakes into patterns, learning where he had gone wrong. Solutions appeared quietly, like threads weaving together, ready for a future he could not yet see. Marcus called sometimes, checked in, offered small words of encouragement. Ethan thanked him brief and simple, but said nothing about what he was building. No one else knew. The apartment felt different at night. Shadows shifted over the glowing screen. Time moved slowly, but each hour brought clarity. The work was invisible, but it mattered. Ethan didn't tell anyone, didn't ask for praise. He just continued, silent and methodical, learning to build again. Each click, each calculation, felt like a small reclaiming of something lost. Something inside him began to shift, quiet but steady. Ethan worked in silence, and one day it caught someone's attention. Daniel Harper, an older executive, noticed the systems Ethan had built while reviewing a freelance contract. There was no praise, no compliments, just interest. Harper asked questions, listened, offered a small position at a private firm, one that trusted results over words. Ethan accepted. He arrived early, stayed late, focused on solutions. The ideas he had built in solitude worked. Processes improved. Profits rose. Colleagues began to take notice. Respect came slowly, quietly, without fanfare. It was not about being liked. It was about being effective. He changed, not suddenly, not dramatically. Clothes fit better, cut precisely, nothing flashy. His hair was neat, hands clean, posture steady. His movements were deliberate. Even his voice carried weight. Calm, heavy. The apartment felt different too. Work brought purpose, and purpose brought quiet confidence. Marcus noticed first, a brief nod over coffee. No one else saw the hours spent alone, the nights of teaching and testing and building. Ethan had risen without announcement, silently claiming space in a world that had erased him. And the weight of that silence, of being known without needing approval, was stronger than anything he felt before. The morning was sharp, cold, and quiet. Claire moved through the elite venue, checking flowers, greeting guests, adjusting her dress. Everything looked perfect. Guests whispered softly, dressed in their finest. Ryan smiled easily, confident, certain. Ethan stepped through the doors. The air changed. Conversations paused. Heads turned without needing to look. He was calm, controlled, every movement precise. His suit fit, like it had been made for him, not flashy, but exact. His presence carried weight. He walked slowly, eyes scanning, stopping only once to meet Claire's gaze. She froze. A breath caught in her chest. Shock, recognition. Something she had forgotten she had lost. Ryan looked too late. Confusion crossing his face as he realized the shift in the room, the silent claim of attention. Ethan said nothing, not a word, not a gesture beyond that single glance. He turned, walked out the doors the same way he had entered, leaving silence in his wake. Claire remained, staring at the closing doors. Guests murmured, unaware. Flowers swayed in the slight draft. Ryan tried to smile, to recover the moment, but it was gone. The door clicked shut, and in that small sound, everything she had wanted quietly ended.